Yeah, the CUBE project is an initial project to start something larger, a research cooperation between German partners and Cuban partners, establish a research network on bioeconomy to establish the baseline for a larger research project that we hope to find funding for in the future. And the idea is that we research the possibilities of establishing a bottom-up based bioeconomy that is conditioned to the local situation in Cuba, and that we conduct research together with our Cuban partners how to implement such a new bioeconomy concept in the Cuban context. We have two German partners. That's the leading institution is RPTU University in Kaiserslautern-Landau, who receives the official financing by the German Ministry of Science and Education. And CEF is a partner in that. So it's CEF and the RPTU that are the German partners. And in Cuba, we have mainly 4 research partners. That's the University of Havana, the University of Cienfuegos, the University of Matanzas, and a research organization of agricultural research in Holguín. They are our partners, and we form an integrated group of researchers working regularly together, both in Cuba and here in Germany. Many questions that we need to address here. The history is that CEF has a long-standing cooperation already with Cuba, and we took up these linkages and this research network and used other cooperations that already existed between CEF and our university in Landau to realize this innovative Cuba project. So we used those networks and the ideas that were there, we updated them together with the Cuban partners and established this research. Cuba is a very interesting country since it has a special situation, and especially now with, let's say, the international blockages that still exist. They have a problem with food sovereignty, with food security, getting enough agricultural resources, getting enough fuel also for their economy. So it's necessary that they provide this to a high level by themselves. And therefore, bioeconomy, an economy based on biological resources, can help to overcome these problems because they are cut off to a large extent from the international market. So that's why Cuba is a very interesting country for bioeconomy. And also the education of Cubans is very high education level. We can work with the Cubans on an eye level, and that really makes it very attractive to work with Cuba. Well, in Cuba, there exists bioeconomy naturally because of the agricultural systems and also the necessity to link agricultural production to energy generation and usage of biological resources in many ways to be efficient. But the new thing is that this bioeconomy now links to the new policy of territorial development. That is the strategy that the country has. And this is a challenge and an innovation now to create a bioeconomy that is not as typical, envisioned as something coming from the top, big industries, big pharmaceutical companies, big producers of fuels and so on, but something that is based on the local level. So bioeconomy that aligns with the decentralization policy and the territorial development in Cuba at the moment. Yes, there are some initial results. As I said, the idea of the project is to establish now a baseline for a larger project And our idea is to, or the approach is to work with specific municipalities where our Cuban research partners have contacts with in various provinces spread around the country. And in these municipalities around the country, we conducted intensive workshops with selected stakeholders, and we try to understand their existing systems, their agricultural production systems, how they are already conducting bioeconomy and a circular economy. And we wanted to understand their challenges, their limitations, their needs, and what is needed to develop further the bioeconomy there. So these results we have. We conducted them in these very different areas in Cuba. And then we took those results, this understanding of the local level, and then we transferred this on a research process on the national level, where on conferences we discussed our findings with academics. And then we discussed it also with institutional players, various ministers, in order to check whether what on the local level is seen as a necessity and as a desired development also aligns with the national policies. And we found that this is the case. So first of all, we understood the local systems, and we found that mostly those ideas on the local level, they go together with the national policies. I mean, first of all, it's always very specific to the country. It's clear that we as experts from Germany, although we in our group, we are very international, interdisciplinary group where the minority are Germans and the majority are people from Latin America. Still, we don't have the special knowledge about Cuba that we need. So first of all, the Cuban colleagues definitely contribute all the information about what is going on in Cuba, the policies, the situations, how to judge the information that we can read. But on the other hand, the Cubans have lots of knowledge about technologies that we don't even know about, that have been developed in the special context of Cuba. What we can provide as Germans is not just the funding. The funding is always important. That is for certain. There is no doubt about that. But it's not just the funding. We provide experience and skills with conducting socio-economic methods to understand in a systematic way the social ecological systems, the linkage between humans and the productive systems and nature. And this is something that I think is new to the Cuban academic system. So they were interested in these methods, and that is something that we can provide.